Hello, my name is Laura Newfer, and for my Pay It Forward assignment, I focused on an article from the Journal of Computer Mediated Communications called Cultural Cues in Students' Computer Mediated Communication: Influence on Email Style, Perception of the Sender, and Willingness to Help. It was published in 2015. Computer-mediated communications are interactions that one or more people have through computers. It could be emailing, video conferencing, etc. And the findings of the article indirectly emphasize the importance of face-to-face interactions. So for this presentation, I decided to get as close to face-to-face as we can through this video. So this presentation will also serve as my visual aid. The research study investigated the effects of cultural cues like name and language use through email communication. The study focused on university students who communicated through email, which is something that all of us in this program are very familiar with. The research studied on how cultural cues influence the perception of the email sender's personality and the reader's willingness to help the sender based on that personality perception. When communicating only through email, the readers have limited information about who or to use to create this perception of who the sender is. And in fact, in this study, they described only two factors: the sender's name and their writing style. The authors found that when readers have such limited information, they tend to make generalizations about the sender and rely more heavily on stereotypes to form that impression of the sender. So, for instance, in the research, the authors say that if someone receives an email from an unknown person and the message seems rude, they're likely to assume that the writer was male and or in a higher ranking position in the organization than themselves. On a more positive note, limited information about the sender can help with equality because factors like race, culture, age, and gender are less obvious and sometimes completely unknown. But the negative effects are that small cues like traditionally ethnic names or a writing style that indicates that the language is not the reader's first language can cause the reader to apply pre-existing stereotypes and rely upon generalizations. As a short summary of the study, researchers asked volunteers from a group of German undergraduates to receive an email, and they sent them each an email from a fictitious sender. Some got an email that was written with proper German grammar and the sender's name was a traditionally German name. Others received an email with a writing style that made it seem like the sender's first language was not German and had a traditionally Asian name. In a follow-up self-report survey, the German students indicated that they would be significantly more likely to help the German-sounding student with a group project than the Asian-sounding student. And the authors concluded that this was not an issue of racism, but of similarity. The German students were more likely to help the email senders who seemed the most like themselves. They also say that first impressions and stereotypes are exaggerated in computer-mediated communications much more than in face-to-face interactions. Because of that, I wanted to create as close to a face-to-face interaction with all of you as possible. Since computer-mediated communications are the only way we work with our classmates in this program, and because it's becoming more and more common in the workplace, I hope we can apply these findings and try to use more technology that's similar to face-to-face interactions. It can also apply to work settings because it's becoming more common for people to work with clients and coworkers who are far away and only communicate with them through email. I know I'm going to try harder, at least to call someone the first time I work with them, instead of just sending them an email, so we have a little bit more of a realistic understanding of each other. For example, an example from my career, I have a client who I worked with only through email for several months, and this client regularly came across as rude and rushed and stressed, and because of that, of course, I assumed that was just her personality, unfortunately. And eventually a situation came up where I needed to call her on the phone, and I found out that she was actually very friendly. She would say the same types of things as she did in her emails, except she would laugh and she had a light, friendly tone of voice, And it made a significant difference on the way that I perceived her emails, her personality, and it influenced my motivation to want to help her from then on. I wanted to help her more than I did before. So thank you for listening, and I'm interested to see your feedback in our discussion. You can even feel free to leave me a video instead of a written message if you would like. Bye.